Alright, today we are going to be doing a little bit more with comparison bars, okay, like we've done in the previous video. Now we're also showing how those compare bars relate to our math mountains that we're so familiar with since the beginning of the year. And then, just like we do with the math mountains, we're able to take a math mountain and convert it into, which means change to, a number sentence, okay, and an equation. Alright, so let's show this first one. There are 14 tigers and 8 bears. How many more tigers than bears are there? So they set this up for us, okay? We have that tigers are on the top because they have more, and bears are on the bottom because they have less. We have how many there are of each of those. So our unknown number, okay, that we're trying to solve for is the difference between them, okay, is that unfair part. So if you recall, we could do like our compare bars, and if we had 14 and 8, but this makes a little bit more sense now, so we don't have to always be using our stair steps. You will recall these are the stair steps. But you can imagine if we have 14, or then maybe later we have 25. This is going to start getting a little hard getting all of these stair steps out and being able to utilize them for comparing. So I'm going to show you some other ways to do that just with our other strategies. Okay, so just like we talked about before, these two are really the partners to make the total here. Okay, so if you have however many the bears had, and you give them a certain amount to make it fair to 14, okay, then 8 plus whatever this would be 14. So look over here at the math mountain. Notice how 8 and the thing we're trying to solve for, unknown number, are at the bottom of the mountain, and the big tall part is at the top of the mountain. And we can do this just like we've done in class. We can count on. So we can do this two ways. We can say 8 and just count on with our fingers. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it's 6. So we do know it's 6. If you wanted to do it a fast math way, remember we've talked about making a 10. So you can say, well, to go from 8 to 10 is 2, and to go from 10 to 14 would be 4. And in your brain you can do 2 and 4 is 6. Okay, so that would be another strategy for actually solving for the 6. So if we look over here, we can say 14 is equal to saying 8 plus its partner. Okay, we would put 6 right here. We could also say that if you take the partner, or if you take the top of the mountain, you're all together, and you take away one of your partners, okay, if you take away one of your partners, you're going to be left with what the other partner is, or worth, okay, which is also 6. So our label up here, our unknown number, is 6, and now remember to do our label, it's asking how many more tigers than bears are there. So it's not just tigers for our answer, we have to use the words more tigers. So 6 more tigers. Okay, alright, so looking at number 2, scoot this up a little bit. There are 12 lions. There are 5 fewer camels than lions. How many camels are there? Okay, so here it says that there's 12 lions, so we're dealing with some lions, and then it says there's fewer camels, so it already tells us there's fewer camels. So we know lions are on top, camels are on the bottom. Now it uses the words 5 fewer camels. It doesn't say that there are 5 camels. It says there are 5 fewer camels. So the fewer, this is our compare number. So our compare number goes here in the oval. Okay? It actually doesn't tell us how many camels there are, but it does tell us that there are 12 lions. Okay? So just like this looks like a math mountain, okay, we can still put it down here. We have our compare number here, we have our total up here, and we have a missing partner here. So we can solve this by counting on. Let's practice using our fast math strategies. So if I'm already at 5, I know it would take 5 more to get to 10, and then from 10 to 12 is 2. So if I have 5 and 2, that would be 7. Okay? Again, you can count. We can show that one too. Okay, so you've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you see 7. So again, modeling over here, if you take your all together and you take away one of your partners, you'll be left with your other partner. If you add the two together, and in this case the unknown is missing, okay, if you add the two together, you'll end up with your total. So you can say 5 plus what partner would equal 12. We know 7 is our unknown number box. Now again, it wants to know how many camels are there. So in the question, do you see the words more or fewer in the question? How many camels are there? No, we don't see the word more or fewer. It just wants to know how many camels. So the word we're going to be using for our label is just camels. Okay, because that is exactly how many there are. It's not asking about so many fewer or so many more. Okay, all right, let's look at number 3. There are 7 elephants. There are 6 more zebras than elephants. How many zebras are there? So in this one, it tells us how many elephants. Then it tells us that there are 6 more zebras. So we know that the zebras is the one that's more. So that's why this one's on the top. Okay, and elephants are on the bottom. Now this one, it says there are 6 more zebras than elephants. So that's our compare number. It doesn't tell us that there are 6 zebras. It just tells us that there are 6 more than. So that's our compare number. Up here it says there are 7 elephants. So we do know exactly how many elephants there are. So if we were to make our own math mountain with this one, okay, you could see that, remember the 2 bottom ones, the one with the smallest and our compare number, if we put them together, we would end up totaling our object or thing that has the more. Or on a math mountain, we would call it our altogether. Okay, so our altogether is actually what we don't know, and at the bottom of our mountain is 7 and 6. So we know that if we put the partners together at the bottom of the mountain, we will end up with our altogether at the top of the mountain. Okay, I know that 6 plus 6 is 12. So 6 plus 7 is 13. That's how you can use your doubles facts. We were starting to kind of use that as a strategy in class as well before we ended up having to leave on break here and switch gears to virtual teaching. So remember to use your doubles as facts to help you do fast math. Okay, so then you can put 13 up here. Now we have to decide for our label. How many zebras are there? Does it have the word more or fewer in the question? No, it doesn't. It just says zebras. Okay, so our label is just going to be zebras. You can kind of pay attention to this. Like the questions in all of these say how many, right? So that's kind of like the beginning of your question, and this became your label. Up in this problem, okay, you have the words how many, and then you had your label. Up here, it said how, and they're on different lines, but how many, and then right after the word many was more tigers. Notice how that's your label there. That can also be one way to kind of look at this, is just think of the words how many in the beginning of the question as your helper words to figure out what's going to be your label coming up. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and turn this over. Oh, I forgot to do this one here. Let's fill this in with 13. We solved it. We just didn't put it in on the chart. Okay, go ahead and turn it over. All right, it wants us to now, we're going to actually be drawing our own compare bars. Okay, so Zach scores, actually before we even read this, what I always have the students do when they're doing their own compare bars is just to draw the bars, to remind yourself. There's a big long bar on the top. There's a bar that only goes halfway. So just think if you have this long bar and you got about halfway. Okay, you have about a halfway, and then you have your compare number is going to go there. Okay, so I'm going to put a little line here and here, so I'm going to put the capital letter of whoever or whatever I'm representing. So if it's like on our other side, we had zebras and elephants. So we were using Z's and E's. Now over here I can see that I am working with Zach and John, so I know I'm going to be using a J and a Z. But I need to first figure out who has more, so I put them on top, and then I'm going to figure out where everything goes. Okay, all right, here we go. Zach scores 5 goals. John scores 8 goals. So nowhere in here does it say more than or fewer than. So these are the numbers of exact goals that they did score. So I can look at these to figure out already who has more. I know that 8 is more. So John, we're going to put a capital J over here for John. John has more goals, and he did score exactly 8 goals. Okay. All right, now that I know John's up there, I'm going to put Zach down here with a Z, and he scored exactly 5 goals. All right. Now is where it wants us to list how many more goals does John score than Zach. It's asking us to compare. So if we were to try to make Zach be fair with John, how many more would Zach need so that he was fair with John? We can do our math mountains. Okay, let's do a math mountain on the side. We can see that 8 would be at the top of our mountain, and 5 would be one of our partners. What would this partner be? What is 5's partner to make 8? Yes, 3 is 5's partner to make 8. So here our compare number is 3. Over here we're going to be putting 3. Now remember, on the other page I showed you, if you just kind of box up the words how many, then right after that you usually will see the thing that you need to use as your label. And in this case it's more goals, because we are giving the answer of the compare number, not the answer of one of their specific goals. So we're going to say 3 more goals. All right, let's look at this next one. First we're going to start with drawing our compare bars. So go ahead and draw your compare bars and draw them with me. It was a little more than halfway, but that's okay. All right, so now, and here's my lines. Okay, there are 11 cars and 19 trucks on the road. How many fewer cars are there than trucks? So when I look at the information piece, I don't see any words that say more than or fewer than. So these are the exact numbers. It's 11 and then the word cars, and then 19 and the word trucks. So there's no fewer or more than. So I know that 19 is more than 11, and 19 is what's going with trucks. So I'm going to put a T for trucks on the top and a C for cars on the bottom. And the trucks, how many did they have? Yeah, they had 19. So 19 is going to go there, and 11 is representing the cars. So again, here, our unknown is our compare number. If we were to draw a math mountain for this one, 19 would go on the top, 11 would go on the bottom, and our compare number would be what we're solving for. Okay? So if we go from 11 to 19, you can know if you were to go from 1 to 9, do you see how that this is all both in the same, the ones are in the same place value for the tens. Okay, so we can actually just think of this as going from 1 to 9. That would end up being the difference. Okay, so to go from 1 to 9, you would need 8. You can also use your counting on, so you can say 11, you go 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. You can see that that's 8 as well. Okay, so we'll put 8 right there, put 8 right here. We'll put 8 for our label. Now remember, here, okay, that's the beginning of our question. So our label is going to be the words fewer cars. So we will write in fewer cars. Okay. All right, let's do this one. Go ahead and draw your compare bars. Okay. All right, I see 8 more lilacs than roses. I see 9 roses. How many lilacs do I see? So we're comparing lilacs and roses. And it says I see 8 more lilacs. So lilacs is what's more. So I'm going to put an L for lilacs up here and an R for roses down here. Now, I also noticed that it says I see 8 more lilacs and roses. This 8 more of this is showing me the compare number. So this is the information I do have. And down here it says I see 9 roses, exactly 9 roses. So 9 is going to go here next to the roses. So we are missing the information telling us about how many lilacs there are. If we take this and we put this into a math mountain, we would have our unknown number box at the top. We would have 9 and 8 on the bottom. Okay, I know if we're going to do our fast math, if we put our partners together, whoops, sorry, I just realized that my whole thing was on a different level there. This is what you should have so far. I apologize for not having the video matching up with the screen here. I didn't realize I was that far behind. Give you a second, go ahead and look at what I have. You can push pause and get caught up here. Okay, I'll just repeat a little bit of what I did. So I made the long box and the short box. I made all my compare bars. Again, I noticed it said that there were 8 more lilacs. That told me that it was a compare number. Then it said I see 9 roses, so I knew that 9 goes with the roses, and lilacs is our unknown number. Okay, if I put the partners back together here, we are going to come up with 17. I could think in my head 8 plus 8 is 16, and then 1 more than 8. Okay, so if there was 1 more than that, that would be 17. So 17 is how many lilacs there were. I'm going to put 17 here. Now look at the words how many. If we box those off, what's the next part? Good, just lilacs. It's not more than or fewer than, it's just the word lilacs. So 17 lilacs. Alright, this time I will push it up. Let's do our last one together. Alright, Ken has 3 fewer balls than Meg. Alright, oh, whoops, forgot. You guys are right. Probably telling the screen right now, you're supposed to draw your compare bars first. Yes, I will draw the compare bars first. It really does help to draw them first because then as you're reading the information, it's kind of like plugging it in like a puzzle. Okay, there we go. All right, Ken has 3 fewer balls than Meg. Meg has 10 balls. So I'm dealing with Meg and Ken, so an M and K. And it says Ken has 3 fewer. So Ken has fewer than Meg. So I know Ken is going to go on the bottom because he has fewer. And I know Meg is going to go on the top. Then from this information I also get that Ken has 3 fewer balls than Meg. 3 is actually our compare number because it has the word fewer right after it. Down here this information says Meg has 10 balls. It tells us exactly how many Meg has. Then the question asks how many balls does Ken have? So this is our unknown number box right here. Okay, and again set that up like a math mountain. You would have unknown number box, and then you would have a 3 and a 10 at the top. Okay, so what would 3's partner be to make 10? 3's partner would be 7 to make 10. So we could put a 7 here, there, and here. Okay, if we take out the how many, we have exactly the word that we need for our label there. Okay, we have balls. There you go. All right.